my name is Cassidy, and I'm with the Minnesota State Transportation Center of Excellence. Thank you all for joining us today for the very first session in our new Teaching in the Trades webinar series. We're really excited to kick things off with Matt Boudinot, who teaches Dakota County Technical College's Mopar Career Automotive program. Today's session, Practical AI Integration in Transportation Programs, from Basics to Classroom and Lab Applications, will explore how AI can enhance teaching and learning in transportation education. We are recording this webinar and we'll share out the link this week for you to pass it on for others or to rewatch it for yourself. With that, I'll hand it off to Matt to get us started.
All right, well, thanks, Cassidy. It's been an honor to kind of kick this thing off. As Cassidy mentioned, I'm from Dakota County Technical College. I teach in the Mopar Career Automotive program. A little bit about myself. I was out in the industry, automotive industry, for approximately 13 years. Prior to that, I went through the Dakota County Technical program, the Dakota County Technical College automotive program. And then I went and worked out in industry for, like I said, about 13 years. Uh, Started at Dakota County Tech in 2014 and still there now and teaching in the Mopar program. Uh, what got me here today for, the topic that we're covering is I've always had a passion for technology, and I've always tried to look at like how I can integrate artificial intelligence, or I mean, integrate technology into my curriculum with my classes. And I got on this grant project about 3 years ago. It's called the Twiddler Grant Project, and it's kind of targeted at being able to bring in immersive learning. It was originally guided towards augmented reality, virtual reality, and then now, of course, AI just got launched right as this grant project was taking place, which kind of took the wind out of the sails of virtual reality and augmented reality, just because when it comes to AI, it's something that people don't have to have necessarily tools or like headsets to be able to use this tool. So once that project came out and we were working on that grant, then I kind of came home and I started looking at like how can AI be integrated into my program area, and then also for students that are going out to the industry in that. And if you're familiar with AI over the last 3 years since it emerged, AI was not horribly stellar when it first came out. It definitely had its inaccuracies, it had its flaws, and at first I'll say that it was unusable for the first year. Uh, and I at first kind of just shrugged it off. It's like, probably not going to be usable in my space, other than maybe writing some emails. But then the following year, I tested it again after seeing how far it's grown in just that year span, and I was astonished by the capabilities of it and how it could be used in our classroom. So I went and I just started jotting down all these different ideas on how we could integrate AI into the classroom, into the industry, and then how it could also benefit our students in our classrooms. So that's what I want to kind of talk about today, is share some of these ideas on ways that I've found to integrate AI into the classroom or into the industry, or for faculty side, how we can use it to create interactive content, and how can we use it to, go through like the accreditation process and things like that that are oftentimes, kind of a burden when it comes to our programming. So for this presentation, I'm going to do it kind of more organically. I don't have a particular presentation set up for it. I don't have a PowerPoint, we'll say that way. What I'm going to do is I want to show you practical applications of it, more hands-on, how you can use these tools and what it looks like in live time. So I'm going to share my screen, and I can find it right behind my chat window. Share screen. All right. So there we go. So you can see my screen, Cassidy? All right, perfect. Okay, so what you'll see here, first off, I'm going to start off with a tool or a resource that I would like to share out with everybody. So like I said, when I went through and I was thinking about all these ideas and how we can bring it into our industry, I wanted to get it out as quickly as possible so that, this was like last summer. I wanted to get it out as quickly as possible because I knew many people were going to be going back into the classroom, and these tools or these ideas are something that I wanted to get to them right away when they were getting ready for the new semester. Now we're, of course, well into the semester, but this is still a great resource for anybody that, is trying to look at, I'm in an educational program like this, or I'm teaching in a program like this, or maybe working out in the industry. How can I use AI within the transportation um, industry in general, whether it's education, working out in the industry, or anything like that? So what I've got is I created some really short videos, less than 3 minutes, that talk about the concepts, the ideas that I came back with, and I wanted to get out to share with others. I said, I think I've got about approximately 40 videos in here now. So the channel that I created is called the Education Tool Chest, or Edu Tool Chest. So it's at Edu Tool Chest, and you can go ahead and you can check out any of these videos, and get these ideas on how you could integrate this stuff into your classroom or your shop, or whatever it is. So I'm going to talk about some of these ideas today as part of this presentation, but there's going to be plenty more that I'm probably not going to be able to get through as part of this, conversation today. But these are really short form videos. What's really neat about them is I used AI to create them. They have, there's this tool called HeyGen that is able to create an avatar of you, and you can use your voice and everything, and it can create content that you provide it, that you want it to create. So let's just say if you wanted to create some really short form videos on specific topics within your classroom, but you don't want to sit behind the camera to create it, tools like HeyGen can create it for you quite easily. All you got to do is you plop in a script, it will create the full video for you just from the script, and then animating your avatar as part of it. So you can either make it look kind of cartoony like I did, or you can take it your actual likeness, photos of you, and it will animate you to look like you are the one that is speaking in whatever video it is. Really good for creating stuff with a very short time frame with less editing. But that's just one of the tools. But anyways, feel free to go in here and check out all of the different videos I've created, all the different topics I've created regarding how to integrate AI into the stuff. But what I would like to go through is I've pulled up a couple of, or created a couple of documents first that I'm also going to share. I'll drop them in the chat so you can access those as well. But here are some of the ideas that I've come up with on how to integrate AI into our programs. So here's some ideas. You can use AI to create quizzes. If you have not already done so, you can have AI create ASE style quizzes. You can have it create multiple choice, true, false, you name it. And again, 2 years ago when I tested this, it was not stellar. Like, you could definitely tell what were the right answers versus what were the wrong answers, because they were just so far out in left field with the wrong answers that a student could easily pick it out. Now you could create quizzes that are very, very close to what, ASE or any other quizzes would be for, answers that are close, but are not correct for the whatever question is that you've got it in there. So creating quizzes with AI right now is phenomenal. Creating lessons plans and rubrics. So these are some of the tools or ideas on how you could use it as an educator. You can have it create a lesson plan on whatever topic it is. You can tell it, to create a rubric. You can provide the assignment to it, and then you can say, please provide me a rubric on this assignment, and it will create you a robust rubric that you can provide to the students so that they know what they're getting assessed on. Um, there's some interactive, textbook builders and things like that, prompt libraries, but let me go through some other ones, some other things here first before I do that. So here's an application. I'm trying to think about the ones that are going to be the most impactful right now within the presentation because, like I said, we got only a certain amount of time. But here's some really, really good ones that I liked. You can create custom GPTs out of, or what custom GPTs are, is it's programmed GPTs that are supposed to act as a role. Some of these GPTs I've created, a good example of one of them that I think students and teachers really like I created one that acts as though the AI is an upset customer, and then the they have to de-escalate the situation. The student has to de-escalate the situation to practice their soft skills, which is really a big one. Let me go and just show you an example of what that looks like. Maybe I should start too with what AI. Maybe I'm assuming that everyone knows what AI is or what some of the most popular AI tools are out there. ChatGPT is probably the most popular tool that's out there. To be clear about something ahead of time too, just because Min State wants me to make a mention of it. The only AI that is officially supported by Min State and many enterprises is Microsoft Copilot. If you're familiar with Copilot, it's part of Microsoft O365. It's nothing more than ChatGPT wrapped in a Microsoft tool. The difference here is Microsoft Copilot does not share any of your content, your chats, whatever you're putting into it. It doesn't share it out to the large language model. So it's very, very private. But with that said, if any of you have used Copilot, it's kind of hit and miss. It's definitely not the most user-friendly, flexible platform. Doesn't always get you the results that you may want. But when it comes to student privacy or company privacy or anything like that, if you're putting anything in there that is sensitive, Microsoft Copilot is the way to go. Just because you don't have to worry about the data privacy concerns that you might have to with some of the other platforms. Whereas ChatGPT, if you're using the free platform, then they do share that out with the large language model to train the large language model, which let's say if you got student data, you don't want that student data getting out to the large language model to be programmed with it. So I would say avoid using other tools like ChatGPT if you're using student data or anything like that. However, if you're creating content for your classroom or for something that doesn't involve student data, then I will say that the tools like Microsoft, or not Microsoft, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Perplexity, Anthropic, Claude, a lot of these other AI platforms that are out there are probably better than Microsoft Copilot when it comes to creating content. So. I prefer ChatGPT for a lot of mine, but I do use Gemini and a lot of the other ones. They each kind of have their strengths, they each kind of have their weaknesses. But let me show you something that I created with ChatGPT, and I'll provide this to you later so that you can use it in your classroom if you desire, or as part of your programming. But so over here on the left-hand side, I've created some custom GPTs that have specific programming on the back end of it, such as let's see here, I've got one GPT that is an automotive education tutor. This one here will act as a shop mentor. to my students that are in my classroom. So let's just say if they're out in the shop area and there's only one of me, then I'm working with a group of students, but then I've got other students that are, maybe they have a question on a certain process, maybe how to check, a starting system correctly or charging system on a vehicle. This tool here, or this custom GPT, is really built to be able to help them without just providing them the answers. A lot of the stuff that I've programmed is made not to just provide answers to students, but to make them think about how they can get to the right answer without just being provided the answer. A lot of concern that a lot of people have when it comes to using AI is that it it degrades critical thinking, because if it just gives you the answer, then there's no process and thought there. So what I've done here is a lot of mine. Found ways to use AI, but also to promote critical thinking rather than just using it as a crutch that isn't going to help them in the long term. But anyways, this automotive education tutor that I created is able to guide them in the classroom or in the shop area while I might be tied up with another student or another group. So that works really well. I've got a ASE task sheet builder. So if any of you are familiar with ASE and the accreditation process, you have to provide tasks to the students, or they have to go through tasks that align to ASE Education Foundation's standards. A lot of times you could use a publisher's ASE task sheets, but some of the challenges that I've found with them is sometimes I want to add more content to those task sheets than what is just in there. So in this case, what this does is it will create an ASE Education Foundation task sheet, but I can also customize it to add in stuff that I want to put in there. Maybe it's theory-based questions that are embedded within the task sheet. This will do that. It will also go and it will attach the standards to the task sheet that it creates, which is pretty neat. While you're going through the accreditation process, having those standards ready to go on your task sheets shows the alignment of those standards with that sheet that you just had them do. I'll show you the example of this in a second. I have also created an ASE Education Foundation accreditation assistant. So while you're going through the process of the accreditation, there's a lot of work that's involved there, having to pull all of the um, artifacts that you need to pull and be able to kind of put it into one space and align it with those standards. That this task or this custom GPT that I created here will take those standards and it will tell you what the standards are looking for, what they mean, and it will tell you what kind of um, uh, things, that documentation that you need to attach to it to meet those accreditation standards. So that's a pretty neat one that I've created. So the soft skill ones is the one I was getting ready to kind of mention, where students have to go in and they have to de-escalate a situation with a student, where I mean with a customer, where the customer comes in upset because the car is broken. They have to de-escalate the situation and be able to make sure that that customer is a return customer. And then the nice thing about what AI can do with these, simulations, or the interactive simulations that they got, is it can provide feedback at the end on how the student did. It could tell them areas that they were good on. It can give them feedback on areas of improvement. So these AI simulators do a phenomenal job of being able to provide that type of feedback. Oftentimes I get the question from educators, well, what do you do? Are you able to see the log from the conversation, and be able to assess it, to put in a score if you've got this as an assignment in your programming? Yes, you can. What I usually do is I would have the students print off the conversation, and then also at the bottom where the AI provides the feedback, it's good taking some of the feedback that the AI provides to be able to critique and then, assess a grade or put a grade in for that student on let's say this assignment here. I created a custom GPTs to create ASE style quizzes or any type of quizzes for that matter really easily. I created a custom GPT that acts as a what we call a diagnostic checkpoint. So let's just say your students are out in the classroom and they're working through and they're diagnosing a vehicle that maybe you put a bug in, or maybe you're working on a customer. You do like they're going through and they're diagnosing it, and they get down to the point where they feel that they have determined what the problem is. Um, the job of this custom GPT here is that the students would then take their diagnostic process and reason to AI how they got to the point in which they got to. And if there was anything that was missed by them, the AI can pick it out. And it's it's quite impressive. If you haven't tried it before, think of a fault in your head and then run it through AI and see how accurate it can get it to accurately diagnose that fault that you had in your mind. But in this case, students go through and they reason with AI why they got to the conclusion that they did. And if the AI found that they missed a step in their diagnostics, it will point them back to saying, hey, you said that you checked fuel pressure, you didn't have any fuel pressure, and you're getting ready to replace the fuel pump. Did you check for voltage back at the fuel pump? And if the student's like, oh no, I forgot about that, I should go back and do that. That's where AI can assist in kind of making sure that they don't put in a part that may not have fixed it. And Pete the Parts, if you're wondering where the Pizza Parts Guy name came from, Pete is our parts guy at DCTC, and it was kind of funny that we joke that he always questions students on their diagnoses. And I created, at first it was supposed to be kind of a joke, but then the more I thought about it, it's like, oh, this is actually a really cool tool. Make sure students follow all of the steps and come to the right conclusion when it comes to their diagnosis. Another one that I really liked, and we're going to be using this a whole lot this semester with my students, is you can have it play games with your students. A lot of times you're in the classroom and you find that students, maybe they're starting to nod off while you're going through your standard lectures. How about bringing in something that gets them to start thinking and playing? So what I did here is I created a 20 questions game with AI around automotive or technical trades in general in this case, but in my area, it's going to be, okay, let's play 20 questions. And there's different levels of 20 questions with this AI. So it could be very entry level one is that uh, it could pick whatever part it is. And maybe I should start by, for those unfamiliar with the game 20 questions, the game 20 questions is you get up to 20 questions to be able to correctly guess what your opponent is thinking by using only yes or no questions. So in this case, when we're playing 20 questions with AI, we could have the AI think of a part, and let's just say the AI thinks of a fuel injector. The students need to guess what that part is with AI by saying, okay, are you under the hood? AI would say yes or no. Are you part of the engine? AI would say yes or no. Are you part of the fuel system? And so on. And they only have 20 questions to be able to accurately guess the component. But on the entry level one, I let them guess, are you the ignition coil? Are you the fuel injector? Are you this or that? But at the higher level ones, they can't guess the component until they are 100% sure. They need to use theory to be able to guess it. So instead of saying, well, um, are you the fuel injector? The student would have to ask the AI, do you deliver fuel to the engine? Are you mounted in the intake manifold? Are you electrically controlled? Things like that tests their critical thinking. They have to understand how systems work to be able to accurately guess the component without asking, "Are you the fuel injector?" Uh, until the very last guess, right? So being able to find ways to bring in critical thinking by using AI and have it being more engaging in the classroom. This is just one use that I found that students find this thing fun. Um, you can have it create faults. So I created a vehicle fault simulator where in this case, the AI will think of a specific fault and then students will have to diagnose that fault based upon whatever the AI returns them back as part of the process. So let's say if the AI says it's got a faulty spark plug, the students would have to guess, or not guess, but they would have to go through the step-by-step diagnostic process to isolate it down to be the spark plug itself that is the fault. The AI would say something along the lines of car comes in, it's got a check engine light on, it's got a P0301 fault code in it. And then at that point, the AI says, what do you want to do next? And then the student would have to go through and reason with the AI their diagnostic process until they can isolate it down to whatever that component is. Again, very, very accurate with its abilities to be able to do this. It's quite neat. Um, Other ones I've created this process pit crew is kind of a neat one. This was actually a suggestion from one of my students after playing the 20 questions game. He said, how about we do this AI that you learn from the AI specific processes. In this case, let's talk about like the HVAC system, the refrigerant process. So what this one does is it will first, teach the student about the process, how the refrigerant flows through the system, how it turns from a liquid to a gas and back and so on. And then what the students need to do is they then need to go into what they call the testing mode here and tell the AI, teach the AI how that refrigerant process works. And it's really neat that then it gives them assessment at the very end based upon how they explain it. What do they say in education? It's like it's one thing to be able to learn, to get the stuff, take it in, remember it, but then once you get to the point of being able to teach somebody else how something works, that's the highest level of understanding. That's what this tool here does within the classroom. It creates that learning by having the student flip it and they do the teaching. I created a tech ed teaching coach, which the whole thing here is like for many of you new faculty that might be out there, it will help you become and it's not just for new faculty, but even for those that are out there, but it will help you improve ways that you might deliver your content or make your classroom more engaging or things like that. So think about this one here as a mentor for technical educators to be able to help them in their classroom to provide better clarity. Example here with what you can do here is that you could record yourself presenting to a class, even though the class may not be there. What this AI will do is it will watch your video, or if you're, just doing it via voice, it can listen to your voice recording, and then it can give you ways that you can improve on your delivery in your classroom, which is really neat. Maybe you can say, well, okay, you're teaching a very low entry level class about the basics of electrical. Maybe we're fresh out of industry and we just assume that students are at this level when in reality, they're not there yet. They might be right out of high school, zero experience with electrical. This is where AI can come in and say, you did a great job delivering. However, if we're talking brand new students, you may want to bring the way that um, the way you're explaining things down a ways, so that way the students that don't have any kind of understanding on it can start to pick up on that stuff to pick up on that content. So um, I know I'm throwing a lot of things all at one time here right now. So Cassidy, if you're, if anyone comes up with questions, feel free to, throw them in the chat, or I'm, I kind of want to have this as, like I said, kind of an organic, organic presentation here. So if you have questions that are pop up and you want to raise your hand and you want to ask live time, I'd be more than willing to answer some of those questions as I'm kind of going through this stuff. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking.
Hmm. Matt, I have a question.
Yeah,
Are instructors able to use these chats you've created?
yes. So what I will do, I am going to share a file. I suppose it's got to do it in the chat, huh? I'm going to share a file that has, there we go. Move this out of the way so I can see it easier. I've got a Word document that has these files in it. It has these tools. Let me just find it quick where I put it. I'll work on this as I'm going. Literally just I have it in my browser window right now. Like I'll have this. Maybe what I'll do, Cassidy, is I can just download it now. To download there and download this one, and then I know exactly where they're at. Then I'll upload it so that everyone can use it. I don't know why the other one's not downloading. But I'll put this one in there too, so that way everyone can kind of get to these ones, and you can test these things out. And they're free. You don't have to pay for these custom GPTs that I've created. You try them out yourself. Try them in you can use them in your classroom and that. There might be a little bit of a difference between if you're doing a free version versus a paid version of ChatGPT. If you're doing a free version of ChatGPT, I think you do have to log in to use these custom GPTs, but you can use the free version. It will use I think the ChatGPT 5.0 up to a certain amount of usage, and then it will default you back to, I don't know if it's 4.0 or 3 or something like that. But you might go back to some of the earlier models, but they still work, is the thing. It's just some of the newer models that they've got out there might have better results with them. But nonetheless, you can still use them. But if you got the paid version of ChatGPT, then you could always just use ChatGPT 5, which is the newest one, and you can have, the best experience with it with the newest model. Um, so yeah, but I'll get those in there before the end of the session here as we're kind of working through. Uh, were there any questions in their chat so far, Cassidy?
No, no questions.
I
Okay. Oh,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you using this as an assessed task, or are these more just additional training tasks that you have students do?
Very good question. So it depends on each one of them. You could definitely do it as an assessed thing. Let's just say, for an example, the one where we do the soft skills example where they got to go through and de-escalate a situation with an upset customer. That one there, I would definitely, maybe not the first go around, maybe have them give them a couple practice sessions of it to kind of work on um, their abilities to be able to de-escalate the situation, but then maybe later on you do have it. Maybe say, okay, you get 2 attempts to go through and learn how to de-escalate a situation, see if you can improve on it even more based upon the feedback that it gives you. And then maybe it's the third one that we're going to, take and assess and maybe put in the grade book. But that's kind of up to you. Whereas some of these other ones, let's say the 20 question one, that one there, I would just do in class together as an interactive learning, tool. So
So
it kind of depends.
have you figured out, is there a way to create any reporting directly from the chat, like at the end? So say the de-escalation, right? Like at the end, it would email you a report based on whoever was logged into it at that time, give it so you could see what they did and how it came out.
Yeah, so they don't have that ability yet to be able to export directly into, let's just say, gradebook or whatever. But the way I've kind of gone around it is if you have the student take that conversation and then they share it, or they just copy the whole thing and then just paste it into whatever LMS Word document or whatever, or into your LMS, and then submit it that way. You could view the whole conversation from what the student says and what the AI says as they kind of progress through that conversation. So that's one way, that's the way I've been going through, and kind of just seeing how their whole thing kind of comes out. If that makes sense. I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna print it again. Save as a PDF. We already do that one. Oh, I already got it there. Never mind, it did go. All right, I did the AI integration one. Let me add that other file quick here. I know I'm not seeing it on mine. Okay, anyways, I'll get it in there. See where it was saving at. Sorry for the technical. There we go. Okay, so now both of those should be in chat, both of those documents. Um, One of them is the AI integration, transportation, and trades. These are all the concepts. And then the other one is the custom GPT library that has all those custom GPTs that I've created. So feel free to check those out, use those, and whatnot. Um, but I'm going to move on to some other items I think that are going to be highly valuable to you in the classroom if you have not heard of them already. One of them that I think almost any educator that has have heard of it has really found the tool extremely useful. It's called Notebook LM. If you have not heard of Notebook LM, what this resource is it's made by Google. What it does is that you are able to take any source that you want, PDF, Word document, YouTube videos, what websites, whatever, and you can add it in as a resource to what they call is a notebook. But the cool thing about this notebook is that you can converse with the notebook about the content that is within it. So you can talk to AI about whatever is in the source material in it. The nice thing about this is why you might want to use this one compared to you just using a regular AI like ChatGPT to be able to, pull information is this will only pull from the source information. So let's just say if you've got a specific document, flowchart, something like that, that you don't want other, things being pulled in that might cause hallucinations or cause inaccurate, you know, inaccurate procedures or anything like that. What you do is you take your source material, you put it in here, and then you can ask, in this case, let's say if there was a manual that I had in here, I could ask it, what's the torque spec for the cylinder heads? And it would give me the exact torque spec based on that source information, right? So you can use the chat to ask anything, literally anything about the source documents that are in there. But that's not the coolest part about this whole notebook. Uh, One of the coolest tools is that in here you can create podcasts out of the source document. So let's just say you've got a document, something in here that you want to have your students be a little bit more engaged with. Maybe they learn better by listening to things. Maybe they like listening to their homework on the way home. They can do that. They can turn this into a podcast and then they can listen to it on their way home, or maybe they're at the gym or whatever with their earbuds in. They can be learning about the content that's in there while they're doing whatever they're doing, which is really neat. So that's these audio overviews. So in this case, what I did here is I created one, and if I'm sharing audio, it'll tell me know if you can hear it or not when I hit play.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Can you hear
This
it,
is where we
Cassie?
take your sources, articles, all of that research, plus our own notes, and really boil it down to what matters. Even if you appreciate what's under the hood, there's some incredible hidden tech making modern cars so
Fast forward a little bit.
in real time. It feeds that critical data straight back to the engine control unit, the ECU.
okay. So like upgrading from a basic light switch to a really smooth dimmer dial, one with hundreds of tiny settings.
That's a great analogy. The dimmer dial versus the switch. Perfect.
That makes sense. So this ability to measure across that whole spectrum.
So you can, like I said, you can take any source document and you can turn it into a podcast that your students, might enjoy more than reading a physical textbook or reading the document itself. And you can fine tune some of what what things that AI focuses on as part of this podcast. You can go in here and you customize the length of it. You can customize specifically if there was a certain process in there that you wanted it to focus on, you can tell it to focus on that when it generates that podcast. Another thing that's neat in there that they recently added was this video overview. It can take that source document and they can then turn it into a presentation. So in this case here, I had it do it on this.
Every single time you get in your car and drive, there's this tiny, incredibly smart device buried deep in your engine's exhaust, working its tail off. It's not flashy, it's not famous, but I'm telling you, without it, the power, the fuel efficiency, and the clean air we all take for granted in modern cars, totally impossible. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this unsung hero. You see, every modern engine is constantly trying to pull off a really tricky three-way balance if you go all in on fuel. The key to
So
the
I'm just
whole thing
skipping a bit so you can see some of the images that align with the video overview that it created. So like I said, sometimes you want to make whatever that source document is. Maybe you want to make a short presentation that you want to use in the classroom, or maybe it's a video you want your students to watch as they go through your LMS system. It's a video that they just kind of got to do on their own. You can create that content within here, within Notebook LM, and then you can share it by sharing it out with your class. You can also download it directly. So in this case here, I could download that video, or I could download that podcast and then just upload that to your LMS or wherever you want to share it. It can also create a whole bunch of other things in here too. It can create mind maps, reports, quizzes, flashcards. So really, like this tool here, if I was a student, I would be using this on a daily basis just to help learn the content that is, that's part of my program. So this is one really neat tool that I would highly suggest you check into. Another really cool tool is part of ChatGPT. In this case, if you've not heard of, move this out of the way, I keep getting my bar in the way. Study mode. It's called Study and Learn. Phenomenal tool. I would highly recommend that you know, point this out to your students. And the thing about study mode is you can take, let's just say a student is learning a topic of the day. Let's just talk about, maybe they're talking about Ohm's law. If you go into study mode here and I say, help me, oops. Help me understand Ohm's law. What the AI is going to do is it's going to customize the teaching to the student. And it will ask them what their current knowledge is as of right now. So that way it knows what things it doesn't have to go back and cover, and what things it'll focus on the student's weaknesses as part of the learning. So you'll see here that it will go through and it will not give you the answer to the problem. It will give you the tools you need to be able to determine what the answer is on your own. If you've got kids that are in high school right now, like I do, and maybe they're doing some of the mathematics that is beyond me now, that yeah, I haven't done in many, many, many years. ChatGPT does a phenomenal job of being able to act as that math mentor, but it's not restricted to math. It can do it for any subject area when it comes to, engine management systems, when it comes to suspension systems or whatever. It doesn't matter. It can, it will help the students learn that content, which is pretty amazing. So I would say check this one out as well for for your students to help them learn, especially when it comes to providing students theory. Let's say I like to explain current flow as though it relates to water, flowing through pipes. Some students may not understand it that way. They have to have it. They like to learn different analogies. This will explain different analogies over and over and over in different ways until the student can figure it out, which is pretty amazing. Another one that is coming out really soon too is by Google. It's called Google Learn Your Way. That one there is specifically just what I talked about. How it works is it's going to teach the student the same way that this does, except for what's really neat with that one is it asks the student before it even starts the lesson, it will ask them, what are your interests? If your interest is baseball and maybe you're interested in gaming, what it will do is when it's working through these analogies or this lesson, it's going to relate the content to the things that you are interested in. So it will relate it to how the mechanics of baseball, or maybe it will uh, tailor it to relate to gaming, which is something that I wouldn't be able to do as an instructor if I didn't understand those interests of the students. So these tools are going to be amazing to us as faculty within our classrooms. And even when they're out in industry, it's going to help them learn and continue to learn while they're out in the industry. So these tools are insanely powerful.
Matt, we
Um,
do have a
yeah,
question in the chat.
yeah,
Does this require students to have a paid subscription, the Google one?
good question. So Google One, I'll just tell you right now, any students right now, they are doing a free year of Google Gemini, which includes, I mean, the Google One includes Gemini. So just a heads up with that. I don't know how long they're going to continue to do that for that promotional period, but I'll just tell you right now they are. But otherwise, most of these features do not require a paid subscription. Like Notebook LM does not require a paid subscription. Most of the features of it are completely free. There are some additional features that you might get if you paid for it, but most of the stuff is all part of the free portion of it. Um, I don't know about the Google Learn Your Way, if that is going to be part of a paid subscription. It's still in beta right now, and they're just kind of slowly rolling it out. But most of the stuff they usually have some sort of free tier of it, but most of it like I said, you can get by with just the free tier. The paid tier usually just gets you access to the most current large language model that is out there that they've got. So in this case, it would be like Gemini 2.5 Pro when otherwise it'll just have you on the Gemini 2.0, which is still going to be insanely good. Uh, so for the most part, you don't need a paid subscription for most of this stuff. Um, other questions? I know we got about 10 minutes left, and I know I've thrown out a lot of things out there right now, but I want to especially, see if there's any questions that people might have around AI in the classroom, or in the industry. There's plenty of ways you can use this out in the industry as well. One example I kind of brought up already in some of those videos I created was using it to write repair order stories. If you're in the repair industry and you have to document all the tests and that you perform to justify the warranty pay, AI is very, very good at that. It will take, this is all they have to do, whatever it is has to do is type in, I tested this, found this, tested this, found this, tested this, found this, determined it was this. And AI will take that and it will elaborate on all of it to be able to justify the time that it took to perform that repair or that diagnosis. Another really neat, unique way that someone told me about that they were using AI out in the industry was to use it to make sure that they were following warranty repair procedures to the requirements for warranty. So in this case, this technician took the warranty guide and uploaded it to ChatGPT, Gemini, or whichever model it was. And then what he would do is he would go through the diagnostic process, and if he determined that it was a specific component, he would ask AI to reference the warranty procedure to make sure that there were no other things that he had to do before he could go ahead and order that part, especially when we're talking about transmission repairs, engine repairs, things like that, when they got that 70-30 rule. If you're able to use AI to make sure that you checked all the boxes so that you don't get a claim to bounce back, I mean, perfect example of how you could use AI out in the industry. Another really powerful one is if you got younger technicians that are out there, which many of us are working with on the daily, if let's just say you take the diagnostic flow chart that they've got to work through as part of their diagnostic process on whatever vehicle it is. Maybe they're diagnosing a check engine light on, and they upload that document to AI. That AI can guide them step by step through that diagnostic process. And the coolest thing about that is, many of us have been familiar with flowcharts in the past, and sometimes you're wondering, well, what does that mean? If I've got my voltmeter there and I'm reading 12 volts on this step, what's that telling me? Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But the cool thing about AI is it can tell you why you're performing the test that you're doing and then what the results are telling you about that circuit, which is phenomenal. So just another really cool practical use of AI out there. Brandon says, have you found one of these AI sources that integrates best with creating things like quiz content for D2L? That is a good question. A lot of them will format for D2L if you tell it to. Sometimes I've found that it doesn't always format perfectly, but let's just say if you took Copilot or ChatGPT and you said, hey, create me a 20-question quiz on the topic of uh, air fuel ratios or whatever, and you go ahead and it creates that quiz. You tell it you want it to be able to format it in a file that you can upload to D2L. Most of the time, like it should be able to do that you would be able to just pull that up. However, D2L is sometimes finicky when it comes to the specific file type and formatting it correctly. So Your experience may or may not be perfect. And it also depends on the large language model itself. With each new release of it, they've gotten smarter and smarter and smarter and being able to provide file types that are what you're looking for to be able to upload to whatever your LMS is. So what I might say today about which one might not be working quite right, might change tomorrow, which is pretty crazy. You are experiencing AI at its worst right now. It will only get better from here, which is pretty crazy to think about. So we got about 5 minutes left, and I still want to make sure that if anyone has any questions or thoughts, comments, anything like that about the stuff that I've talked about, that we've got a little bit of time to still be able to do that. So anybody have any thoughts, questions? Everyone's really quiet. Could be everyone just your mind got blown with some of the capabilities of AI.
Matt, this is Sean,
Yeah.
Executive Director at the Minnesota Transportation Center. Yeah, just thanks for the presentation, super helpful, and thanks for everyone for joining today. But I'm just wondering, from your perspective, I mean, what do you see in the future of AI, especially in technical education? And what is some of more of the advanced level of AI that you kind of see in the future for instructors like ours? I mean, just kind of what do you see in the future, I guess, in AI?
Yeah, it's there's things. So I've been tinkering around with things that are beyond what I've talked about today that is on the horizon. That is going to be a total game changer for us in our space. I will just say that. Um, there's going to be integrations of AI that are going to be very helpful in our spaces. Again, since there is only one of us and our class sizes are, 24 or so, depending on your institution, that's not a very good ratio. But when you've got the ability to have AI be a mentor or to be a lab assistant and guide those students through the processes. Um, the nice thing is, like, we're going to be able to, it's going to help unload us, but it's going to give the students a better and more successful learning path in the long run. AI can cater to each individual learner's needs, which is something that I can try to do, but I can't do that. If your student has a English as a second language, if your student has special learning needs, if they're on the spectrum that sometimes it's challenging to be able to deliver the content in a way that they can learn it the easiest, that is not a barrier for AI. It can do it. It will cater to them. So I foresee that it's going to be a load off of us as faculty in the future. Our job is going to be more along the lines of facilitators in the classroom and that. But like, I don't think we're going anywhere because, especially in our industry where we're very, very hands-on, AI is not going to be able to deliver the real world tactile learning that we have to be able to provide them. But if it can help them learn the theory and the processes and things like that, I'm all for that, make them more successful out in the industry. So that's a good question. So yeah, I just want to thank everybody for attending. If you have questions around AI and you want to direct some of those questions my direction, feel free to do so. I will I'll put my email in chat that, especially right now, I'm all about learning how other people might be using AI as well in their spaces. I like to collaborate on AI and how we can better fit the needs of our students, or if they're out in the industry, how we can fit their needs out in the workforce. So definitely feel free to reach out and connect with me about AI and maybe how we can use it within our industry. So with that, I'll leave
Thank
it
you
up
so
to,
much, Matt.
yeah, no problem. So it's a lot of fun. It's a neat topic. Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
No problem.
Yep.
Well,
Thanks for joining. Have a good, yeah, good rest of your day, everyone.